Welcome back to another episode of ROC Boys football. We are heading to the SEC to talk about an intriguing matchup as South Carolina goes on the road to Kroger Field to play the Kentucky Wildcats at night in Lexington. In my mind, this is where we learn a lot about South Carolina. You take a look at their schedule through the first 5 games of the season. You play Georgia State. You look pretty good. I mean, you got helped by a couple special team touchdowns. You play Arkansas, who I really do think is a very good team, and just a brutal matchup for South Carolina, a team that really has struggled stopping the run on defense. Arkansas is probably the best running offense in the country. You play Georgia, just not really on their level pretty clearly. And then you whoop up on Charlotte and South Carolina State. You don't really know how South Carolina stacks up against most of those SEC teams. Now, they're going on the road against a Kentucky team that is very good, lost a tough one against Ole Miss, but this is a game that South Carolina should hang around and be competitive in, even though we expect Kentucky to win. And then on the other hand, Kentucky with just a brutal loss against Ole Miss. I think they were the better team, just some unfortunate mistakes, red zone turnovers. Really hard to win SEC football games when you do that, especially on the road. Before we get into kind of taking a look at both these teams, how they stack up against one another, just wanted to say thank you. Both these teams I really like. I love what Coach Beamer is doing with this program. The excitement that he's bringing to the South Carolina Gamecock program is extremely exciting. I love what he does. I love how he coaches. And then Kentucky. I've always loved Coach Stoops. I've always liked Coach Schlarman, the offensive line coach who passed away from cancer a couple of years ago. I fell in love with that team because of that offensive line and how physical they were and the offensive line coach in general. And so both these teams I really like, and I'm excited to kind of get into it. So to my point, though, as usual, if you guys do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We really do appreciate it. We're almost at 2,000 subscribers, which is absolutely insane. A year ago, we were at 40 subscribers. The support you guys have shown has been absolutely awesome. We really do appreciate it. We love talking ball with you guys in the comment section. So if you do like the content, consider subscribing. Let's get into talking some ball. I want to start with Kentucky. This is a conflicting one. Chris Rodriguez comes back, and I think they just got so happy. And Chris Rodriguez looked awesome. Like, you could tell that, yes, the offense and the run game has struggled, mostly because of that offensive line that's just significantly weaker than we've seen in the last half a decade under Kentucky. But I feel like they fell just too much in love with the run game. Like, when you look back at the box score, Chris Rodriguez, 19 carries for only 72 yards, averaging 3.8 yards per carry. As good as he looked, the efficiency really wasn't there. And I feel like you have one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Put more on his shoulders. And we're kind of saying that throughout the summer, that we're so used to seeing a Kentucky team base their offense identity off that run game. That happened in the years past because you haven't really had a quarterback that's very talented. Looking back, Lynn Bowden was your quarterback one year, just running the Wildcat. Terry Wilson, not really much of a down-the-field thrower. Will Levis is. Will Levis has a rocket arm. His accuracy has been much, much better than we're used to seeing from him last year. I wish they put a little bit more on his shoulder. You look at his final stat line, 18 of 24 for 220 yards. He's averaging 9.5 yards per completion, only threw 6 incompletions on the day. You obviously had the two turnovers, but I think Kentucky, yes, you get Chris Rodriguez, your All-American running back, but Will Levis is still there. Still use him, and you have some weapons on the outside. Barian Brown is just electric. Tavion Robinson, the transfer from Virginia Tech, has been absolutely awesome. Dane Key, the true freshman. You have some really good tight ends, Jordan Dingle being one of them. I feel like they got away from that Will Levis passing attack because Chris Rodriguez was back, and it kind of hurt that offense. They only scored 19 points in that game, and obviously, it's hard to score many more points when you turn the ball over twice in the opponent's red zone. But I would like to see Kentucky kind of lean more on Will Levis. If you want to win an SEC title, you want to make a New Year's Six Bowl, which this team is completely capable of doing, got to make it happen through the air. And Will Levis is certainly capable of doing that. Now, South Carolina, taking a look at them, we noted that you're not really sure what you have with South Carolina. I think a lot of South Carolina fans are kind of conflicted on how to feel. You're 3-2. You feel all right. But the 2 SEC games you played, you kind of got beat bad, but one was against, again, a Georgia team that's just really damn good. And then an Arkansas team that is just a really tough matchup. Like, South Carolina couldn't really get any momentum because Arkansas was kind of marching down the field with that run game, which is just a really bad matchup for South Carolina. What I'm wondering is, one, Spencer Rattler needs to take care of the football a little bit more. The offensive line's been bad for South Carolina. It's been bad since that week one against Georgia State. And Georgia State was whip and tail up front. You kind of knew that Georgia, you kind of knew that Arkansas would too. The offensive line has gotten better, and we kind of said that. I think the more chemistry, the more they get used to Spencer Rattler kind of making the calls, making the protections, it would improve. I think it has improved. You've seen the run game get a lot better. Marshawn Lloyd looks kind of back to what you thought you'd get out of him as a recruit. Like, he's a top 50 kind of 5-star kid. Towards ACL, hasn't really been healthy, never looked healthy last year. Well, guess what? He looks pretty damn healthy now. He's one of the best running backs in the SEC. He's making it happen on the ground, averaging 6 yards a carry, but he's also making it happen through the air. 13 catches for 118 yards. Seeing Christian Beal-Smith be a little bit more active in that running back rotation as well, a guy from Wake Forest that I really liked in the summer. This South Carolina team, I think, just needs to come together a little bit more. I think you knew that Spencer Rattler would take a second to get acclimated, but you really like the weapons. Juice Wells, the transfer from JMU, has been really good. Jaheim Bell, obviously, a guy that you just get touches the way you can. Austin Stogner coming on. Jalen Brooks has been a nice addition. Let's get to this game matchup. Kentucky, I think, it's kind of a contradiction, if you will. I was saying, put more on Will Levis' shoulder. Well, this game, it might look a little different because this South Carolina team, just as talented as they are up front with guys like Jordan Birch, they can't really stop the run that well. If you look at what teams are doing, I believe they're averaging 4.5 yards per carry. And again, that's with teams like Charlotte, South Carolina State. The teams like Arkansas and Georgia were kind of just running the ball wherever they wanted. Even Georgia State was running the ball a little bit. If South Carolina can't stop the run game, feed Chris Rodriguez as many carries as he can take. Now, again, Will Levis, use him. You have really, really good weapons on the outside as well. I think this game comes down to how well South Carolina can stop the run, and then Spencer Rattler can take care of the football. I mean, 7 interceptions through 5 games is not good, but again, partially that is the offensive line. Getting to the pick here, I think I'm leaning with Kentucky to cover the 10.5. I feel a lot better about this pick. This probably isn't a bet for me unless that number gets inside of 10. I do think Kentucky will be able to run the ball. I think South Carolina will have to commit more bodies to that box, and then you kind of get that play action. Will Levis going over the top to guys like Brown, to guys like Tavion Robinson. In South Carolina, I need to see more in SEC play till I'm comfortable taking South Carolina to stay competitive with some of these top teams in the SEC. And this really isn't me being low on South Carolina. If you're a friend of the show, you know I really like South Carolina. It's just you haven't seen them really bring it to SEC teams. Kentucky's they're a legit top 15 team. They very easily could be a top 5 team in the country with a win on the road against Ole Miss, which I think they were the better team on Saturday. They just had 2 really tough turnovers in the red zone. Now, I don't love this pick, and this is going to be a monitor game for me. I want to watch this game. It's a night game. I want to see what South Carolina has. I want to see how much they're improving under Beamer. This program, this ship is going in the right direction. Just don't know if they're to that destination yet where I'm taking South Carolina to go on the road and cover 10 points against a top 15 team in the country, against one of the best SEC teams in the conference. So that's a review for me. I'm probably leaning Kentucky to cover those 10 points. I also like the over. 50 points is not very high. I think both offenses can move the ball. Even if South Carolina is struggling on offense, that means you're probably getting some turnovers from Spencer Rattler, setting up Kentucky with some short fields. I like the over as well. And if South Carolina does win this game, I think there will be a lot of explosive plays from guys like Juice Wells, from guys like Jaheim Bell. So I lean the over. I lean Kentucky minus 10.5. But again, this game is not going to be one I'm betting, but this one I am a fan. I'm kicking my feet up, and I'm taking just watching this game, learning about both teams. It's going to be a very good game. I like South Carolina a lot as a team. I also like Kentucky. You guys know that. So excited to watch this game. Not necessarily a pick from me. Appreciate you guys as usual. Again, checking out the content, checking out the channel. If you do like the content, get us that 2,000 subscribers. We really do appreciate y'all, and we'll talk to you guys later.